Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here on Sam's Crafty Castle. This is another older video I kind of had filmed and edited and sitting in a folder that I decided to bring out and finally post, and you can kind of tell in the editing style because my editing style has changed a little bit. But anyway, I wanted to bring it out and post it because I haven't really posted a super coloring heavy video in a while. I've done some, like, little bits, but nothing super sort of detailed, I guess. And I'll admit, for me personally, I still really enjoy doing coloring and stuff in my card making, but it is something I've noticed I'm moving away from a little bit. I don't know if that's going to be a permanent change or not. Basically, it just kind of boils down to a lot of coloring takes a long time, and I don't always have the time to hang out and do it as detailed, at least, as I would like to. But, like, I'm still doing the kit and clouder classes and things like that. I'm not up to date on my classes. I'm super behind. So I'll admit I don't actually have the subscription to them anymore, just because I got really behind on them and I was starting to get overwhelmed with how many I had to do. Even with choosing, there were a few that I just, like, really couldn't get into, so I skipped them. But for the most part, I've always done all of them, and it was just, like, yeah, it was getting to be too much of a backlog of classes for me. So I ended up canceling my subscription, but I still have some that I'm working through, and even that takes a lot of time, and I don't get to it necessarily as often as I would maybe like to. So hence the lack of coloring videos, and cards that are heavily coloring focused. But it is something that's sort of been, like, I've been wanting to get back into it, and I have a few videos planned that aren't super coloring heavy, but they are a little bit. So there we go. So anyway, I'm coloring this stamp set. It is from Gina K Designs. It's one of the very nice big florals. I think this is one of Argita's florals. And what I did is I sort of came up with a color palette that I was looking for to use and started, and then you saw me pull out that binder. I know I was rambling too much at the beginning, so I'm talking about everything after it's happening now, but then you saw me pull out that binder, and that binder is basically like my coloring resource. Yeah, basically that's it. That exists in my craft room. And basically, like, all of my sort of, like, more informational coloring stuff is in there. I have those Copic level books. I don't even know if they're published anymore, but Copic used to have official, like, tutorial books, and they're not, like, nicely placed in the binder, but they're, like, flipped in the front pocket. I was keeping some kit and clouder classes and stuff in there, but quickly realized that I didn't want to print them out all the time, because there are a lot of pages and things, and that was a pain. But there's one or two in there that I had printed before I realized that was not something I really wanted to hold on to. And I have the Kit and Clouder Markers 101 class in there, and that stays in there all the time because there's some really good resources in that class for things like sort of keeping track of different techniques and different color combinations and things like that. So that's in there. I'll admit I don't pull it out very often. At this point, I've pretty solidly, like, know what color combinations are the ones that I like, and that's what I go for. And I don't really need to look them up anymore as much as I used to. That just comes with time. And I'm not as particular about my color combinations anymore. I'm a little more willing to just sort of, like, look at the 300 plus markers in front of me and go, I think that'll work. Or to go on Pinterest and type in the color I'm looking for and then just scroll through Pinterest. to find a combination that looks nice to me. Unless I specifically know the combination I'm going for and have just forgotten what markers I need to do it, I don't usually reference that book so much anymore. What else is in there? And then the other thing that I do reference a lot in there is my Sandy Almach hex chart, which is what you saw at the beginning. And it's just a different kind of color chart for your markers, and you just kind of look at it and you find the marker that you want to be your main color, and then you can look in whatever sides are touching, are markers that'll like blend nicely with that color. It helps me branch out from just necessarily going like a step above or below, or and helps me sort of vary colors, make some more drastic differences to get some more drastic dimension and things going on. And I've been experimenting a lot with like different color families and stuff lately. I never filmed the video for this, but I was doing some just sort of like casual coloring during my break, kind of trying to get my mojo back a little bit. And I really had some fun playing with like mixing some of like the reds and purples, or the red, violets, and pinks, I should say, which is technically red, so like, you know, but just branching out of color families, like rather than only using all red velvet, wow, instead of using, this video is going to end up in the blooper reel, instead of using all red violet colors, I slowed down there, so I said it right, I will use, like, actually use a red and a violet color, like an R and a V color, rather than just like using an RV color. It's been fun. It's been really fun to kind of play with the cool color gradients and stuff I can get. They don't always work. Sometimes they're fun. I'm sure it'll end up in a video someday. But that's in there. And then I have almost all of those same things in that binder for my pencils as well. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to see a more like in-depth look at what's in that binder. Like I said, it's pretty casual. It's not very organized. You'll realize my craft room is very much slightly organized chaos. I know where things are, but they don't always make sense to people who aren't me, if that makes, I'm sure you guys get the vibes. But I would actually think it would be kind of fun to do a more, it would be a longer video, because I wouldn't speed it up, we would go slow, but let me know if you guys would be interested in a longer, kind of coloring video that goes a little bit more in detail, and a little less of you guys watching me do the coloring, and me sort of just talking over things, not necessarily as they're happening on screen. I don't have the ability to like record a voice-over clip while I'm filming and have it line up really nice, just because I don't have my camera doesn't work with an external microphone, so I'd have to record on my computer and then try to get everything to line up, and that would be kind of a pain and I don't know if I have time for that. So but we could do some kind of slower video. But this video, I don't think we actually make a finished card in it. I could be wrong, because like I said, it's been a long time since I filmed this video, but I'm looking at this and going, we're getting really close to the end, and I do see a finished project down there. So we are going to finalize it and make it into a card. But other than that, my coloring technique is pretty straightforward. I am a dark to light color person. The whole like color and the whole thing with your lightest color and then start adding in your shadows and stuff just does not work for my brain. My coloring is not extremely organized or anything like that. Sometimes I grab the wrong color and we just make it work. Done that several times where I've colored things in the wrong order. And then we just vibe and go from there. And it all works out in the end. You'd be surprised, people get so nervous about coloring things in, but in my experience, for the most part, it's fairly forgiving. You absolutely can, every once in a while you have the situation where you're like, yeah, I just can't save this, and it needs to not exist anymore and ends up in the garbage. But for the most part, in my experience, coloring is more forgiving than you expect it to be. And at the end of the day, if something does happen and you're like, yep, this is just not the vibe, this one just did not come out, the colors didn't blend right, or something else happened, there's so many little things that can happen. Don't, it's okay. It's just paper. That's something I've been working on a lot. Kind of on my own in my craft room and stuff, is I do tend to get frustrated in things sometimes when I'm crafting and things don't feel like they're working the way they should right away. But at the end of the day, it's all just paper, and if it doesn't come out, I can throw it away and try again. I've kind of set a rule for myself in the last couple months. Again, this is me sort of trying to learn from when I lost my mojo for a little bit there. And I've, been very good about knowing when to walk away these days, rather than just trying to push through it and getting more and more frustrated as I go. We're trying to keep the card making enjoyable. For some of us, it's a job and you just got to push through, and, for some of your favorite YouTubers and things, it's, you kind of just got to make it happen somehow. But if you're more of a card making hobbyist like me, then it's okay if you have to walk away for a little while and do something else or pick up a different project. Like for me, it's usually if I'm starting to get frustrated because it's not coming out, it's usually I need to put it down and walk away entirely and go do something else for at least a little while, if not not come back to that at all for the rest of the day. So it's about learning what works for you. So I had die cut this in a scalloped rectangle. I filmed this. This is probably a year to 2 years ago now that I filmed this. But I'm kind of laughing that I'm posting this because I've been going through a massive scalloped rectangle phase again. So get used to seeing scalloped rectangles around. So again, now we have this we had that big gigantic floral, right? And it was really big for this card. And don't let the big image scare you. You can absolutely cut it down and do fun things like this. I colored the whole thing, but I cut off a good chunk of the leaves when I cut it down with that scalloped rectangle. So don't be intimidated by, oh, look at how there is not that much foam tape left on that roll anymore. That surprised me. But don't let the big images intimidate you either, because yes, you're right, they're not going to fit on your card, but then there's some really fun things you can do to die cut them down and things like that to make some really cool things. And I just wanted something really simple. This was supposed to be a really simple card because I was trying to focus more on the coloring aspect of it. Even for me, I was this is just, I haven't colored in a while, and this is going to be just a really simple coloring card. And sometimes simple cards are the best ones, in my opinion. And I don't know what happened to this card, so I must have sent it to someone. Because I don't know where it is anymore, and I just went through my card stash and it's not in there, so I must have sent it to someone in the last year. But it was just a really fun, simple card. Yes, the coloring takes the time, but then you can leave everything else really simple and easy. I said that way too many times, but to make up for it, basically. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And I will see you again soon, and have a crafty day.